Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're pulling back the curtain on Canada's summer camp industry. Now, when most of us think of summer camp, we immediately go straight to that place of nostalgia, right? The campfires, the canoes, singing under the stars. But before that very first s'more is even roasted, there is a massive logistical engine running behind the scenes. To really understand how this industry functions, we have to look at it for what it truly is, a multi-billion-dollar, incredibly high-volume accommodation sector. And just like any major accommodation sector, its success relies entirely on the hidden systems and infrastructure holding the whole thing up.
To really put the sheer scale of this industry into perspective, consider this. Over 6 million Canadian households participate in camping activities every single year. That is just a staggering amount of demand, and a huge chunk of it funnels directly into more than 5,800 camp-related businesses operating nationwide. We're not talking about some boutique niche sector here. We are talking about hundreds of thousands of campers moving through these facilities every single season. And that kind of crazy volume? Well, it creates some pretty massive logistical challenges, which is exactly what we're going to unpack today.
Here's our roadmap for the explainer today. First, we'll look at the summer camp ecosystem. Second, the 2026 demand squeeze. Third, the fragmented infrastructure problem. Fourth, the shift towards standardization. And finally, delivering on the promise.
All right, jumping right into section 1, the summer camp ecosystem. It's really time we reframe how we view these facilities. They aren't just cabins in the woods, they are basically sprawling, high-efficiency micro-cities. And the operational reality on the ground changes drastically depending on the type of camp. You've got residential overnight camps dealing with high-use bunk beds and continuous turnover. Urban day camps, they require super rapid, high-traffic daily resets. Remote wilderness operations demand absolute durability simply because you can't just run down to the hardware store if something breaks. Meanwhile, community camps are often fighting a constant battle against aging infrastructure. But notice the common thread running through all of this. Whether they're serving specialized needs or hosting hundreds of kids in traditional cabins, every single one of these models faces an intense, high-turnover environment. So why does getting the infrastructure right actually matter so much? Well, because beyond just being places for kids to go have fun, these facilities are critical socioeconomic engines. They bridge access to essential youth development programs for underserved communities. They actively support mental health and social growth by fostering independence. They are massive drivers of regional tourism and seasonal employment. And right now, they are perfectly positioned to meet a surging post-pandemic demand from families who are basically desperate for screen-free real-world outdoor experiences for their kids. Moving on to Section 2, the 2026 demand squeeze. Looking ahead to the 2026 season, operators are staring down a really serious squeeze. Demand isn't just holding steady, it's accelerating. Booking cycles are moving faster than we've ever seen. We're also seeing these regional shifts that are redistributing campers, which means active camps are suddenly having to absorb a lot more volume. All of this leads to much higher overall occupancy expectations. And here is the real kicker. Operators have an incredibly limited window of time between seasons to actually prepare and scale their infrastructure to safely handle this influx.
Which brings us nicely to Section 3, the fragmented infrastructure problem.
This tension we just talked about points directly to our next topic, because the reality behind the scenes might actually surprise you. Here's the twist. Camps generally aren't struggling to attract campers right now. The demand is super healthy. What they are struggling with is maintaining their physical infrastructure under the weight of all that booming demand. We really have to ask ourselves, why is the traditional approach, just buying beds and furniture as needed from standard retailers, causing such an operational nightmare behind the scenes? The disconnect here is honestly pretty stark. When operators go out and buy standard residential furniture, they are buying products engineered for gentle usage, low turnover, and minimal wear and tear. They're built for a quiet bedroom. But camp infrastructure, it's subjected to continuous, punishing usage cycles. It faces extreme wear and tear. I mean, anyone who has ever seen a 10-year-old completely snap a flimsy residential bed frame just by jumping on it knows exactly what I'm talking about. And there is practically zero downtime for repairs between groups. It's an industrial-level environment trying its best to make do with consumer-grade equipment. And that leads right into what we call the fragmented supply trap. An operator purchases residential-grade furniture because, hey, it's available and it seems cost-effective at the time. But over the years, they source from multiple different vendors depending on whatever happens to be on sale. As a result, they end up with wildly inconsistent cabin specs. A bed breaks, and guess what? They don't have the specific part for that specific brand. This forces the maintenance staff to manage this chaotic, mismatched inventory, which drags out repair times and drives total operating costs straight through the roof. It is a completely reactive, incredibly inefficient cycle.
Let's flip to the solution. Section 4, the shift towards standardization.
Fortunately, leading camps are recognizing this trap and they're breaking the cycle. But what do we actually mean by standardization here? Well, it means moving to an open wholesale supply model. Under this model, high-use facilities secure incredibly durable, consistent products designed specifically for their environment. By partnering with dedicated suppliers, like Amlan Hospitality, for example, operators secure predictable procurement. This ensures that an exact matching part or perfectly matching replacement bed is going to be available years down the line. It totally eliminates that mismatched Frankenstein cabin problem. And let me tell you, this builds a massive B2B advantage for these organizations. The operational advantages of just having consistency are huge. First off, simplified maintenance. When every single cabin uses the exact same heavy-duty bed frame, staff are working with familiar systems, which means way less training. Second, you drastically reduce your inventory complexity. You literally only need to stock one type of spare bolt or bracket. This immediately results in lower lifecycle replacement costs and much faster day-to-day operations. Your maintenance team actually spends their time improving the camp rather than just running around putting out fires.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, delivering on the promise.
Because ultimately, infrastructure isn't just a back-office maintenance issue. It is intrinsically tied to what the camper and the family actually experience. Consistency is now a core guest experience requirement. We live in a digital-first world, right? Parents are meticulously zooming in on photos online before making a booking decision. They're building a clear expectation of the experience based entirely on your marketing. So if they show up on drop-off day and your cabins are a patchwork of sagging, mismatched beds that look absolutely nothing like the brochure, trust evaporates on the spot, reviews suffer, and your brand reputation takes a hit. Consistency proves professionalism. This is exactly the gap that specialized partners like Amlan Hospitality fill. They provide camps, as well as student housing and workforce accommodations with purpose-built solutions. We're talking about heavy-duty metal bed systems that literally will not bend under pressure. We're talking about institutional-grade mattresses designed specifically for hygiene, super easy cleaning, and real longevity. Plus, they offer smart, space-saving underbed storage to keep things organized, all bundled into these standardized multi-cabin furnishing packages. It's all about building an environment that handles the extreme wear and tear effortlessly while still looking fantastic. I love this point because, as the data clearly shows, consistency is what transforms operations from reactive to scalable. You simply cannot grow a multi-million-dollar seasonal operation or handle a big influx of new campers if you are constantly trapped in a reactive state, spending your limited time and budget just replacing broken, mismatched supplies. True scalability requires a rock-solid, reliable foundation. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. As the industry looks toward that massive influx expected for the 2026 season, you really have to ask yourself, is your current infrastructure holding your operation back? Or have you laid the groundwork to scale efficiently and profitably with reliable, standardized partners? The demand is definitely there, and the campers are coming. The only question is your foundation ready to support them? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I hope it gave you a fresh perspective on the real mechanics of the summer camp industry.